Alright, hey everybody, so I'm just going to do a quick, well, it's not going to be quick, it's going to be long, as I always say. My videos are always long, especially when I'm terminaling it up. So we're going to do an installation of Samba 4 as a Active Directory domain controller today. So while I'm talking, I'm going to get some apt-get updating going on so that you don't have to wait for me to talk. So basically, I've got an Ubuntu 14.04 box. I have been using a lot of CentOS or CentOS lately. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've been liking it a lot, but it's got some really old Samba packages. So right now, Samba 4 packages on CentOS are like 4.0. So it's like their first release as stable, and they haven't done an update since. So Ubuntu has some pretty recent packages. If you want bleeding edge packages, I think I looked at the binary distributions on the Samba wiki, and Debian had actually really recent packages, whether you were using testing or not. Also, I really encourage you, if you want to really dig into Samba, feel free to compile it. I know compiling it sounds really complicated, but I have to say, the Samba 4 has the best compilation scripts I've ever seen of any program ever. So I don't know how much time they spend on them, but they are amazing. So, and really give you good information, good error messages, really make sure that you get a good configuration. And if you do want to do anything sort of out of the ordinary with your Samba install, I would really encourage you to compile yourself. So, all right, so we've got an update going. A couple things that we are going to do is let's set our networking. So right now, this box is, let's just do an ifconfig first. So right now, I'm on a pretty simple, home network. That's my IP right now. I want to get out of the DHCP leases and into something else, so I'm going to configure a static lease, or a static IP, under /etc/network/interfaces, static address, I think it is. So I'm going to configure this to be the address that I want my server to be. The net mask is a pretty simple /24. And my gateway is a pretty obvious .0.1. Actually, I don't like the 192 IP scheme, but my router kind of has that right now. So that is what we do. So I think we're going to also throw a couple more things in here. I'm going to throw my DNS name servers in here. So I'm going to point to myself. As well as my default gateway, which is also a DNS server. So when I set the DNS search space, which is going to be shaver.net, my last name's Shaver, so it's just a name I decided to go with. And then we're going to change our host name. And actually want it to be dc1.shaper.net. So alright, so let's check on our install. It looks like it's getting close. It's in, creating the init ramfs. So we must be getting close to being done. Oh wow, did I call it or what? So there's a couple other packages that I'm going to install. I think that's what they're called. So, oh, I forgot the install. So ACL and attributes is what ATRA stands for. So Samba uses some extended attributes and ACLs to store permissions on sysvol and netlogin and other Samba shares that you create. Your permissions will be kind of a mess unless you install these packages, and we're going to edit fstab, add some extra parameters to fstab. So let's open up fstab, and if you've never been inside fstab before, this is your file system table where all your partitions are mounted. Basically, you've got if you're used to the old way fstab was, it used to be like you would see /dev/sda1 or hda1. Problem with that, with like USB drives and that type of thing, /sda1 can change depending on your BIOS settings or your boot order, or, a lot of weird stuff. So they changed it so that it was based off of UUIDs, which is a unique identifier, so that it knows that this hard drive or this partition is always going to be mounted on as the root partition. This is the file system type, so ext4, and then there's some parameters, errors, remount, read only. I can't even remember what the 0 and the 1 do. I used to know a long time ago. And then this partition is just our swap partition. You may have extra partitions if you've mounted your /home or your /var or your /temp folder on a different partition. You just want to make sure that you make these modifications to the partition where your Samba shares are going to live. All right, and we are going to be all right, now if I do sudo mount a, unable to resolve. What does that have to do with anything? Let's do a reboot. Shut down. All right, so 0.100, 200. So because we've reconfigured our networking, our IP, the IP of our server is going to change. So instead of SSHing to 105, I'm going to be SSHing to 200. How dare you refuse me? Oh, okay. I guess it's still booting. Maybe I effed up my Network configuration. Network's up enough for me to ping it, so... So another note is, so we had to add those attributes, or those parameters to fstab because we're using ext4, same with ext3. If you are using a file system like XFS, it's probably not something you have to do. So, looks like I may have screwed up my network configuration. That's why it's taking so long for this thing to boot. So, the other thing that you're going to want to know is, hey, Jim, why would I want to set up an Active Directory domain controller on Samba 4? So, I know a lot of guys, actually I'm technically one of them, who have access to things like TechNet or MSDN, and they get access to, Windows Server for, nothing, or either that or for very cheap, relatively cheap, either through their company or whatever. I have a home lab, and you know what? TechNet's going away. I'm going to have to deal with that somehow someday, so I might as well get a head start on it now. I have no allegiances to Microsoft, really, so I like working in Linux better anyways. But, you know what? Linux doesn't have anything that's as amazing as Active Directory, really, so it's kind of nice to be able to walk the line a little bit. And, I know there's people that sort of do gray things in their home labs. I try to be as legit as possible in my home lab and, keep my nose clean that way, so... yeah, so it looks like I screwed up my network configuration, so I'm going to have to log in to this thing. Oh, there we go. My gateway is set wrong. Lol. Right, and of course I didn't run that as root, because I'm the dumbest person on the face of the planet. Alright, so IF down,